get started. So we're going to break down the four horsemen from John Gottman. Now, the four horsemen are pretty much a breakdown of the negative things that we do in relationships that can make it more likely that this is going to break down your relationship over time. But only if these things aren't addressed, right? If we let these things continue throughout our relationships, they really can be damaging. So let's start with the first one, which is criticism. And criticism, of course, is I wrote, if I'm looking this way, it's because I wrote down notes. So just bear with me. It helps me to stay on track. If not, I will go off track, and we don't want that. So criticism is attacking your partner's personality instead of focusing on the behavior. So making references to you're so selfish, you never listen, you don't think about me, you don't include me in things, you're lazy, all these things that are just going to erode your partner's view of themselves, as it would to anybody if you hear that over time, over and over again. And research actually shows that how a conversation starts, so the first 3 minutes, I believe, of a conversation is a big predictor for how the rest of the conversation will be. So if you're coming in ready to go, ready to fight, ready to argue, of course, your partner is going to have all of their defenses up. You would too if you were on the other side. And so those first 3 minutes of any conversation, specifically with your partner, when it's heated, that's going to predict the rest of the conversation. So if it starts that way, it's probably going to continue to escalate from there. And of course, we don't want that. We want to find new ways of doing things, healthier ways of doing things. If you guys have any questions so far, let me know in the comments. If you're just here enjoying it, that's even better. Enjoy. All right, so number two, we're talking about content. So we're going over the four horsemen of what breaks down a relationship over time. The first one was criticism. The second one is contempt. And this one is actually termed as the strongest predictor of divorce based on research. So this, I would say, is a pretty big one. So what I have here is I want to get you the exact definition. So we have disrespect through sarcasm, mockery, or eye rolling. Now, when you're saying things like, wow, you can't even, do the dishes right, or just going after them, right? And you don't even have to say anything. And when you think about rolling your eyes when you're annoyed about something or mocking your partner, we tend to do that a lot, and maybe you don't even notice that this is what you're doing, but it does erode your relationship strength over time. So what we want to do is build a culture of appreciation, right? Of saying, thank you, I actually appreciated when you did that for me. You saved me a chore around the house, or you saved me a trip to do that. Thanking someone, not because you have to, but it's just a way of showing appreciation. And by the way, appreciation can be shown in multiple ways, not just saying thank you. It's in the things that you do for your partner, with your partner, to let them know, I see you, I care about you, I'm in this with you. And you actually don't always have to speak in order to let your partner know, we're in this, we got this, right? So that's what you want to build a culture of. So if you have any questions so far, stop in between. Let me know in the chat. But if not, we'll keep going. The third one is defensiveness. And so defensiveness is protecting yourself by making excuses. A lot of times we do that. Denying or blaming instead of listening. So, no, I didn't do that. Or if it wasn't for you always nagging at me all the time, then I wouldn't have done this, or I wouldn't have said this. It's shifting the blame off of you and onto your partner. I only stopped because you wouldn't stop doing this, or I only reacted in this way because of what you did. So you don't actually take responsibility for the things that you've done and the role that you've had to play in it. And relationships are two people. So that means two people need to be able to take accountability in their relationship. Let's see. So let me go to my notes. So what I have here is that when it's constant, the relationship becomes so negative that even neutral or positive comments are interrupted or interpreted, excuse me, as being hostile. So what I mean by that is when you get so used to in your relationship dynamic going after each other, being negative, not showing appreciation to your partner, eye rolling, all of the things that we talked about just now. When you get so used to doing that, and it's easy to get used to doing that, oh, that's just how we are. Doesn't make it healthy, by the way, just because you're used to it. But when you do that, you create a environment where you don't even believe it when your partner actually tells you something good. You almost doubt it because it's so different from what you're used to in your relationship pattern. But we have to think about that for a second. If your relationship within that it's weird or strange or off-putting, or you don't believe when your partner tells you something good about yourself or something positive, or you feel like, well, what's coming behind that? Are you trying to use it against me? Is there a joke? Is this a joke? Is this for real? When you doubt something as simple as kindness in your relationship, that's a big, big red flag. And if you agree, let me know in the comments. I think that's a big red flag because why am I questioning my partner sharing something positive with me? There's more underneath that. That's why. Um, Let me keep reading over here because now I'll go on a tangent, and I'm trying not to go on a tangent. I'm trying to stay within my notes. All right. So, yes. And then I also said, wait, it's the wrong one. Okay, yes. Let's jump down to the fourth one. So the fourth one is stonewalling. So what have we reviewed so far? We've reviewed criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and now we're on to stonewalling. Now, this I would personally say is one of the most damaging in relationships, but I can understand how contempt is because it's so simple to do, and sometimes we don't even recognize how dangerous it could be, right? So a lot of times when, let's say you're used to shutting down, let's say you're used to avoiding, let's say you're used to not resolving issues that come up within your family unit, within your relationship, that's just not something you do. You learn that hiding, retreating, isolating, removing yourself from the situation, you learn that that's how you deal with issues and problems. The problem is that that's not the healthiest way to deal with them. At some point, you get comfortable in the distance. And in deep, meaningful relationships, you need to be able to work through these things, right? That's where the strength comes in. That's where the vulnerability comes in. That's where the accountability taking comes in. That's where the forgiveness comes in. And so you need all of that. That really is what separates acquaintances or just simple relationship dynamics from romantic, family, even parental dynamics, right? Being able to apologize to your kids at times, being able to let them know when mom or dad didn't do something right and owning up to that, being that example to your child, obviously based on their age and what they can understand and process. All of that is going to be helpful in those relationships, but it does take humility. It does take the ability to look inward, self reflect, and then say, you know what? I hear you. Let's work through this. This is where I'm at. This is where what my experiences were, but let's work through this together. That's where strength in relationship is built over time. Um, so let's move on. Let's see. Okay, so I have a research study here that I did want to point out. So men, which maybe you predicted this, maybe not, but men are more likely to stonewall than women. That's based off research. I don't know how true that is. I don't know what the research study entailed, but that's what the study says, and it's because their heart rate also increases whenever they stonewall. So this, when you're at a level that your emotional state is so high, you cannot effectively problem solve around you, right? It's almost like you need to check out. And I do recommend checking out. There's a difference between checking out and stonewalling, right? So when your emotional regulation skills are out the door, you're emotionally heightened, you're really, really upset, or you're really, really sad, or you're really, really hurt, you cannot process in healthy ways in order to say, okay, let's talk about this, let's work through this. You can't. You're emotionally heightened. And so, what is recommended is that yes, you do take a step back and you communicate that with your partner. Hey, I need a minute. Let's take a few moments. Let me regroup. Let me calm down. Let me reframe. And then let's come back together and actually work through this. And that's the part that most people miss. See, when you get into ignoring, when you get to not talking about things, not coming back to conversations, that's the part of stonewalling is the most damaging, right? That shut down, the silent treatment, not coming back to these conversations, leaving your partner feeling like, what are we doing here? What's happening here? How come we're not able to discuss this? Are you upset? It's obvious that you are, but how come I don't know what I did wrong? And that's a lot of it, right? That's shutting down the silent treatment, specifically when it comes to stonewalling. What happens is your partner doesn't even know that anything, they don't know exactly what the mishap was or where things went wrong. You do. And so what stonewalling is you're taking that and you're using that for your benefit, which is why it's so unhealthy. If your partner doesn't know what they did wrong, if you're not communicating that to them, and you're also shutting them out as a form of punishment, as a form of validation for you, as a form of feeling like, okay, I've got the upper hand in this, that will erode a relationship quicker than, in my opinion, based off what I've seen. That erodes a relationship quicker than almost any of the other things we talked about today. But if you agree, let me know. If you disagree, that's okay. I also would want to know. But I think it's very unhealthy, and I've seen it many, 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 many times. Okay, now let's see. All right. Okay, so now I'm switching over to, now that we went over the four horsemen of what breaks down a relationship, we're going to quickly go through what to actually do about it, right? And I like to include that in any of my, actually, almost all of my videos that I post here on YouTube, because it's important to know what's unhealthy and what not to do and to take accountability for that. But you also need to know what to do instead, right? You take something off the shelf, put something back on. So let's talk about things that you can do to improve your relationship. The first one, and the hardest one, in my opinion, is active listening. This means eye contact. This means listening. Your physical, what it's doing. Are you nodding? Right? Are you repeating back to them what you heard? Okay, I heard you say that you were upset because I walked out mid conversation. Is that right? It's important to clarify, because then your partner can say, actually, it wasn't because of that. And actually, I feel hurt. I feel sad. I don't feel angry, right? It's important to let your partner know, I hear you and I want to understand where you're coming from. At the end of the day, we all just want to be understood, seen, accepted, and not judged for who we truly are, really. And when you, in a romantic relationship specifically, right? When you get to the point where now you're being vulnerable and you're opening up to them, right, in ways that are obviously different from your other relationships, that is difficult. And that brings out sometimes the worst in us, and it also brings out the best in us. But we all just want to be truly seen and accepted at the end of the day. So it's important for you to allow your partner to know, or let your partner know, hey, I hear you, but I want to make sure I understand you first. What we try to do is we try to go in there and say, no, 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 no. This is how I'm feeling. No, 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 no. This is my experience. No, 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 no. This is where I'm coming from. And we want to be heard so bad, but we don't want to do the same for our partners, because we've already come up with our own narrative. We've already constructed our own reasonings as to why we're right. We've already come up with all of that. And so We've even come up with what we feel our partner is going to say. So if I tell my partner this, they're going to say this, they're going to say that, they're going to respond like this. And you may be right. They may respond exactly how you're foreshadowing them to. But it's still what we're missing here is the fact that your partner is still not heard. You're still not taking the time to understand where they're coming from the same way you would want that for yourself. And so that's why it's the most difficult, because we come in with our own stuff and we want to be heard, but it is the most effective. If I know you actually know where I'm coming from, then my defenses go down. Then I can actually listen to you. So let me go back to my notes, because you see how I get on a tangent? Let me go back to my notes. Okay. Yes, one note that I did right here was about um, the concept of winning in arguments. I see that a lot. And the problem is that we want to feel justified. We want to feel heard. We want to feel like our things matter, and they do. But again, it's not about winning an argument. It's not about feeling like you've got the upper hand. If that's your motive, you've lost the battle. And I don't think we take enough time to emphasize that, because, again, we want what we want. We don't always want to give people that same understanding sometimes. So, all right, let's talk about the next tip. And I just have two more. So, the second, we have one more after this. Uh, I statements. You've heard about it, you've probably talked about it. So, we know what I statements are. It's when you start with an I feel, right? The emotion, instead of blaming your partner on what they never or always do. You put it back onto you, because then it also helps your partner not feel as defensive in the conversation. So let's say the how I want you to think about it in the moment, because it's difficult to do so, but in the moment, I want you to think about it as I feel, and what's your emotion. If you have difficulty understanding what your emotions are, if you just go towards, I'm angry, or I'm sad and I'm happy, we know that anger is a surface level emotion, right? And we know that there's more layered underneath. So it's important to understand what those deeper emotions are in order to connect that back with ourselves. One thing that I usually recommend is the emotion wheel. You can just Google it. It essentially just gives you a wheel, and it has the list of different emotions. And I like to refer to that because it helps whenever I feel like I have an emotion that's deeper than this, that's deeper than anger, right? But I don't know how to vocalize that. That's when you look at the emotions wheel. And it's going to be really helpful. Just Google emotions wheel, you'll find it. And if you've used it before, let me know in the comments below. All right, let's see. So yes, it's I feel, and that emotion that you feel, when, then the behavior or the situation. So I feel, let's keep it very basic. I feel angry when, what does your partner do? When you, let's say, ignore me while I'm talking to you. That's a big one. So you stated your feeling, the emotion, and you've stated what they actually do, what the behavior is. Then once you do that, you're going to want to say, because, and then add your reasoning, right? I feel sad or angry when you ignore me while I'm talking to you, because it makes me feel unimportant to you. And then you don't stop there. You put a period after it, but you don't stop there. You want to then share with your partner what you would like in the future. So, in the future, could you please refrain from being on your phone when we're talking? I'm simplifying it so much. There are so much deeper conversations where you can use this method. I'm trying to simplify it so that you can easily integrate it into your conversations, right? So I feel, what's the emotion? When, what's the behavior? Um, and the reason why, right? And then your request. So I feel, emotion, when you, behavior, because, the reason why, and then what you would like in the future. Simple. Simpler said than done, but pretty much simple. All right, then the last one is repair attempts. So these are small things that you can say. These are small things that you can do in order to reduce the tension that's within the room, so to speak, right? You can't see the tension, you can feel the tension. So by this, you can use humor, you can use like a funny joke to, kind of cut off the direction of an argument or disagreement, right? And the goal is that you don't want to shy away from the conversation. You don't want to just make a joke and okay, we're happy again. Let's just call it a day. Let's move on. Let's ignore it. No. You want to interrupt your regular think about it like your argument cycle. You kind of know how it goes if you've been in a relationship long enough. You know how the arguments start. You know the cycle. You want to stop that. And you can do it in different ways. Maybe holding hands, right? Something to cut that off the normal cycle of how you guys usually argue and do things. After you do that, it's really important to then agree to either take 20, 30 minutes apart to self-regulate, to process, but then the agreement is to come back and have that conversation. Or if you don't need 20 or 30 minutes, because just having that small interruption has helped to bring you guys back to wanting to have the conversation, even better. You want to have that conversation and work through it. Less defensiveness, more communication, more problem solving. That's the difference here. So let me know in the comments below if you guys have any questions. It doesn't, unless I'm doing something wrong, it doesn't seem like you do. But I will say this is my first YouTube live, and it's very different from TikTok live. I usually go on live over there, which I'll probably do after this. YouTube setup is a little bit different, but this is great. And thank you for staying the entire time. I appreciate you guys because it helps me to understand how to navigate this system a little bit more. So if you guys have any tips for me, let me know. If you guys want me to talk about something specific the next time I'm here, also let me know. And then if you want any specific videos on relationships, communication, problem solving, how to fight fair in your relationship, look at my channel and I have other videos on that. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it so much. I always get so nervous before these lives, but this one more so because I've never done it before. But I appreciate that feedback. You have no idea. So yeah, I'll continue to do these. My plan is to do it every Tuesday, at least for the next now 3 weeks, on the different topics. So next week it'll be on trust issues and how to rebuild that once it's broken. So come back next Tuesday around this time if you can, and I will see you then.